Somewhere in your house, there is a photograph of you as a baby. You are laughing. Someone is holding you. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's just a Tuesday. You have no idea. You were there. You are the only person in the photograph who cannot remember it. That should feel strange. It usually doesn't because it happens to everyone. But the real answer for why this happens is far stranger than you were just too young. Think about it for a second. You can recall what you had for lunch 3 days ago. You can recall the name of a teacher from 12 years ago. Your brain is clearly capable of holding on to things. So why does it let go of an entire chunk of your own existence? The first 2 to 4 years of your life are almost completely gone. Not blurry. Gone. Psychologists call this infantile amnesia. The term was coined over a century ago by Sigmund Freud, who noticed something odd in his patients. Adults could describe their childhood in vivid emotional detail, yet almost none of them could recall specific events from before the age of 3 or 4. Freud had his own theory about repression. Modern research tells a very different and much more interesting story. Your brain was not broken during those years. It was busy. It was under construction. Here's what was actually happening inside your skull as a baby. Neurons were multiplying at a staggering rate. New connections were forming by the thousands every second. Structures were shifting, folding, wiring themselves for the first time. One structure in particular was still deep in development. It's called the hippocampus, and it works like a filing system for memory. It takes an experience and stores it somewhere your adult mind can pull it back out later. In a baby, that filing system is under construction. The building is there. The shelves aren't installed yet. So the memories weren't necessarily lost. Many researchers now believe they were never properly filed in the first place. Psychologist Patricia Bauer has spent decades studying memory development in young children, and her research shows something remarkable. Toddlers can form memories. They can recall an event days or even weeks later. But those early memories are fragile. They fade at a much faster rate than memories formed later in childhood or adulthood. The hippocampus simply isn't stable enough yet to lock them in for the long haul. There's a second piece to this puzzle, and it has nothing to do with neurons. It has to do with language. Think about how you remember things now. You don't just store a raw sensation, you store a story. First this happened, then that happened, and it made you feel a certain way. That narrative structure requires language. It requires a sense of me as a character moving through time. A 1-year-old doesn't have that yet. A 2-year-old is only just getting it. Psychologist Peterson has studied how children narrate their own memories, and her research found something telling. Kids who develop stronger language skills earlier tend to hold on to earlier memories for longer. The ability to talk about an experience seems to help lock it into long-term storage. Without the words, the experience has nowhere to attach itself. So picture your earliest years like a movie being filmed with no sound and no script. The camera was rolling, the events were real, but there was no narrator yet to turn the footage into a story you could replay. Here's the part that tends to surprise people. The cutoff isn't as clean as before age 3, nothing, after age 3, everything. Memory researcher Nora Newcombe has shown that childhood amnesia fades out gradually, not all at once. Memories from ages 3 to 7 are still far less stable than memories formed in adolescence. You are not just missing infancy. You are missing a slow, extended process of your mind learning how to hang on to its own experiences. Why would evolution design a brain this way? Wouldn't it make more sense to remember everything from birth? Not necessarily. A baby's brain has one overwhelming task in those first years, and it isn't memory. It's learning the basics of being human, recognizing faces, understanding that objects still exist when they're out of sight, learning to control a body that barely does what it's told, beginning to absorb language itself. Building the architecture for memory is expensive. Devoting resources to storing specific autobiographical events before the systems for storing them well even exist would be inefficient. Nature prioritized building the tools first. The permanent record came second. There's something almost poetic in that. Your earliest self wasn't a smaller version of you failing to make memories. Your earliest self was a construction site, Loud, chaotic, essential, and never meant to be photographed for the archive, this is where the science quietly slides into something personal.
Catching a breeze, love moving through me like